Right then, team. This one's going to be a bit on the fly. We're going to go. We're going to go into a couple of different things really today. It's going to be quite fun because I'm going to do this one literally as we go. It's a bit of a later one. It's been a bit of a weekend, gang. Not gonna lie. So where are we? There we go. That's what I want. So what we're going to do. Let me turn that down a minute. One of the things I want to go through today, basically just the importance of goal setting, is going to be quite a big one for me today. I just not even just goal setting, but how to keep going when it feels like your goals are unattainable. I think this is more of a personal thing for me. Is something that I've always gone through. Is when you have a goal in mind, whatever that is, it can always just feel, am I ever going to achieve that thing? But there is some beauty in that. So we're going to go into that. We're going to go into a little bit about basically maintaining your body weight, how you do that. And we're going to do it all literally on the fly as I get up all the information that I need to get up. So stream in, here we go. But yeah, we'll do a normal check-in out of 10, seeing where we are. And going from there, really. If I think of this past week, it's probably been another solid, amazing week, genuine. Quite an interesting week in the sense of, and this is why it brings me on to the goal setting bit, it's because there's always this clash, and I've spoke about this. I think I spoke about it last week on here. There is a clash between competency and connection, or competency and kind of creating connection with people. That clash, really difficult to get right, because if you're trying to be competent with something that you're doing, one of the things that you'll find is you've got to spend a lot of time just putting the work in. And when you think of the normal process of universities, the way universities work is you have a period of time where all you're focusing on is that work that you're doing in uni. And that period of time is literally just, I'm not working, or you're working a part-time job. You're pretty much partying most of the time, but it's a specific time to focus on studying. When you're trying to kind of get ahead in your career or just in life in general, and you have to spend periods of time trying to get competent at something, you have to just put in a lot more work. If you think about someone who is doing the thing that you currently want to do, well, that thing that they are doing and you're learning how to do, you just need to put in twice the amount of work, if not 10 times the amount of work and effort as they are, because you need to catch up. And I think that's something that I think about and struggle with creating the business and kind of doing all the things I want to try and do with that, because I've got this massive juxtaposition, or this massive butting of heads between the things I want to achieve and the connection I want to try and build with people. And I think that's the hard bit that I suppose everyone goes through to some degree. I think about it with my dad, actually, when he worked in London for a bit. It was he took the job in London because it would provide for to pay money for the house that we lived in. And this is a really kind of interesting thing about, I suppose, men and providing, which is men in the past, the traditional way of doing things has always been men provide, they go out, they earn the money to pay for the family and the kids to kind of have the lifestyle that they have, right? And I think there is something attached within that from a male's worth standpoint. I was having a conversation with a client about this the other day and saying that there is, and she said, there's some real toxic masculinity going on there with my need and want to provide for a family. And I don't think it's necessarily toxic masculinity. What I actually think it is it's inbred meaning. So if you think of men and women, a lot of time women have innate meaning and they already have innate value in who they are, based upon being women and the fact that they are the ones that bear children, and throughout the years, obviously, if you don't want children, it's nothing against that, or saying that you don't have value if you can't have kids. It's not that. It's just that men see women as having innate value. If you think of wars and things like that, men would go off to war, women would stay back, and because we're trying to protect that and protect them, and that would have happened from hunter gatherer times all the way to the world, the wars that are going on now, right? And the reason I say about that is because for men, going to be able to provide for their family gives them value. And in a world now where like women have the same ability to earn the same amount as men, it was quite an interesting conversation because the change that seems to have occurred is that women don't need a provider anymore. They need a companion. So they don't need someone to pay for everything. They need someone to come alongside them with them as they chase their career or they do the thing that they want to do and they chase their passion, and have a man who can look after himself and they look after themselves as you go forward. And it's a real change, I think, in the environment that we are currently in. I think about it all the time because my need to provide or my want to provide has been a big driver for me going forward as a man and trying to create the business I want to create. And like I think I talk about it with my last relationship, like the goal for me the whole time was I want to try and provide this life for us. And the difficulty is knowing that like you don't actually have to do that, like because the world is changing, but I don't think it changes where you get your value from. I suppose a side or a comparison to this, which I've seen and spoke to clients about on the female side, would be the want to be a mum. So that want to be a mum for a lot of women is the driver for them and what they believe will give them purpose and gives them purpose. So like if they are a mum, that gives them a lot of drive going forward. And I think the same's true for men in the sense of providing for the family as the woman kind of has the child type thing. And it's not to say that like you don't split the roles or do anything like that. I'm not talking about kind of traditional lifestyle as being the way it needs to be. I'm just saying because it's what it has been for so long, and I think it's what people, or it's at least what I would like it to be. It comes from a pure selfish endeavor in the sense of like it's a selfless act to go and sacrifice yourself and work all these hours so your like wife and kids can have the life they want, right? To some degree. But it's selfish in the sense of like I'm doing that because I actually get value from that, and because I then have meaning within my life, right? And it's just a really interesting state of play at the moment because it's I think different people want different things. So I don't think it's as easy as a sweeping statement as saying all women want this and all men want that. I think everyone's really individual. Like I've had so many conversations with people about how individual that is. But I just know that, or at least I believe that some people need to kind of, I think it's different because there is just such a change going on in the landscape of things at the moment. And I do just think that like as we move forward, it's just a real difficult time for men. I think it really is. Like I think the change is making it hard for men to know where they get their value from. Some women want a provider, some women want a companion. And I don't know whether the men who are looking to be a companion are finding women that only want providers, and the women who want a companion are only finding men that want to be providers. But I do just like, I don't think anyone's wrong. And I do think everyone's right in wanting the things that they want. I just think it's a very interesting landscape to be a part of right now. Um, the reason I'm bringing this up and I talk about goals and things like that is because today, one of the things that comes up for me a lot with like my mental health and things like that, or the thing that kind of makes me go inward, think about and I'm overthinking or contemplating what's going on in my life, is my want to be a provider and the state that I'm in and the lack of being able to be that person right now. It's it's a real it's a real interesting one. I saw a thing today. I'm not going to say who I saw it from because that would cause outrage. Um, oh, we're just gonna go for it. I saw a thing from like Andrew Tate today. Now I'm not like I don't really know anything about him. Genuinely don't. Like I just know that there are some things that he says that make sense to me. Same thing as like if you look at Jordan Peterson, for example. There's a lot of things that Jordan Peterson says that make sense to me, but for a lot of people, Jordan Peterson is an outrage of for whatever reason, right? And what Andrew Tate was saying, I wonder if I can find the video because I sent it to someone. So give me 2 seconds. Let me see if I can find it because I think it really is quite interesting. Um, and again, it's not that I think I agree with it, if that makes sense, but I just think it's a really interesting point. So let's see if this comes through. Right there. So this is what I saw earlier, and I do just genuinely think it's quite interesting.
Take it from me, a billionaire with Paganis and Bugattis and Yescos and penthouses in the sky and homes all around the world and a yacht and a private jet. The second you have everything you want, you're going to want something else. So you might as well get used to enjoying wanting things. In fact, one of the saddest days is when you realize you have everything you want and you lose that one day I hope to have. That's actually a fantastic feeling. That one day I hope to have, if I save up, maybe one day I'll get the feeling that you have right now. You need to enjoy it. Don't be mad that you don't have what you want. Enjoy that feeling. Because once you have everything you want and you're sitting there with millions and millions and millions of dollars and there's nothing to buy, nothing excites you, you don't go to the mall, you don't want to go shopping, you don't want to look at links on the internet, you don't want to dream, all of it's done. You have everything, it's boring. Once that happens, you miss the days where you'd sit and go, man, if I save up, I can get that BMW. Or man, if I work really hard, I can get a Lamborghini. Or that $2 million watch, wow, that's life-changing for me. Once you have everything, then you sit around with all your money and you think, there's nothing to buy now but power. And that's why the rich people do what they do with politics, because there's not enough items on earth worth buying. So you
Yeah, like stopping it there because I don't know what he says on the next bit, but like the start of that is it really resonates with me. I think the reason it really resonates with me is because, gang, like, I think unless you do have everything, you're always in a state of lack. Like, you're always in a state of wanting more, you know? And I don't think that will ever change. I think you're always going to be looking at your current situation and going, this could be better. Like, you're just going to. I know it's difficult, right? Because, like, for a lot of us, and it is probably social media warping the brains and my brain of what success is, because to me, success, the level of success that I want it's not huge. I saw a thing ages ago, which is like, if you ask anyone how much money they want to earn, most people say around 3 times their current salary. And like, that's very true for me, because I'm like, that's the number that I want. And I imagine I'll get to that number and be like, oh, I want this next number. And it's just that thing of like, when is anything ever enough? And maybe it's not. And maybe it's just the state of lack. And this is where the thing of the man who loves to walk will journey more than the man who is just trying to get to the end destination. So the man who loves the journey will walk and walk and walk and will enjoy it more and get there faster than the man who's just trying to get to the destination. And I think that's something I'm really trying to embody at the moment, is like enjoying the fact that I don't have the things. Like, it's fun to be in a place of I don't know, but it's also really anxiety provoking. And if you think of like the unknown and you think of the things that you're going after, they are in what we would look as the unknown. You don't know if it's going to happen or not. You have things that you think could happen, but you have no idea if this thing that you want is actually going to come true or not. And you're sat there and you're wishing and you're hoping and you're praying that this thing will come true, and you're working hard and you're doing all the right things to get to that goal, but you have no idea if it's going to happen. It's unknown to you. The thing about the unknown is it's really, really exciting. I don't know what's going to happen. How good can this be? I don't know what's going to happen. How bad can this be? And I think that's the game. That's the whole thing, is that you're going to go through that all the time. All the time. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I just think it is part of life. I spoke to a friend, the same client who I had the conversation with about like the kind of state of men and women. I know I've jumped around a little bit here, talking about the goal setting and things like that, the provider element of it. But I like will maybe be able to cut some of this into some kind of sections. But she was just saying, "Oh, I'm really content with everything at the moment." And I thought that's like actually amazing because I don't know if I've been content, or at least I don't know if I am content. I don't know if I'll ever be content, but I also know that that's a big drive. Like that's the thing that drives me. So it's like, do I want to be content? I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. Um, I really don't know. I just think like multiple things, like multiple things, which is I think men really need to redefine what they're after. Because you speak to women, and some women are like, there's men with zero ambition out there. And I speak to all of my mates, and we are all ambitious. And maybe it's my circle. Maybe I've got a really cool circle. And like, don't get me wrong, like maybe some of them within there aren't, but I've got like my inner circle. I think is really tight of people who are trying to do shit and get things done and create a life and to win and succeed. And I think maybe it's rare, but like there's things of like you're gonna have to leave your old friends behind. I just don't believe it. I believe that you and your friends, the ones who are like on the same path as you're gonna create that life if you keep chasing it, all of you. And that's part of where like I'm at with things at the moment. It's just constant chasing. This is what I'm after. And to some people, it's the rat race, and it may be the rat race, and like, oh, we need to escape it, we need to escape the matrix. But it's just like, well, maybe we just enjoy the matrix. Maybe we just enjoy the fact that we always are going to want something more. Maybe we just enjoy the fact that, like, right now I don't have the things I want, and I'm going to work for it and try and get there. And I have the motivation to do it. If you think of motivation, spoke about it loads on this channel, it's running away from something and running towards something. Like, this, the life that I want and the life I'm aiming towards and the thing I'm running from. And how amazing to just enjoy where I currently am. I get moments where I drop back in, right, to that fear, and it's all coming from within. I think it's a really good. We're gonna speculate together on this one. It's a really good thing to speculate on, which is why it comes up for me. So self-awareness to me is one of the biggest things that we can all have. And the reason I talk about self-awareness quite a lot on this channel is because I think self-awareness allows you to see your flaws and inadequacies as they currently are, not how you are trying to pretend they are, or not how you're like trying to convince yourself of. And I think the self-awareness has a really big purpose to help you to become better, to look at your current circumstances and know where you could improve and where things could be better. But I also think that the self-awareness can cause a lot of problems within yourself. Like, it can cause you to constantly self-doubt yourself because all you see is your inadequacies and the things that are going on, right? So for me, when I think of this coming up for me today, it is just the fact that I don't know if it's going to work or not, the thing that I'm chasing. And it all links back to my bigger goal. So my bigger goal of wanting to be like a father and have like a family and kids and things like that, to me seems to be dictated on the work that I'm doing. And I had a really great conversation with someone today, and they were like, I like exactly who you are right now. Like, you've been so good for me over this past week, and I couldn't have asked for anything more from you, but you're asking for more for yourself. And it was a moment of for me to realize that, like, it's actually okay to be in a place where you don't have the things that you want. It's okay, because the things that you want and that you're chasing, you will eventually get, even though it doesn't feel like it in the moment and in the time. Yeah, it's just a really interesting one. It's a really interesting one. And for me to be able to go, right, that fear's come up again. I'm afraid that this thing that I want isn't necessarily going to happen. What can I do? It's a really good one to be aware of, to know, well, actually, the thing that I am chasing, and the thing I'm so afraid to not happen probably will happen, and I need to continue to do what I'm doing, keep chasing, and trust in that process that it will come true. You know, it's yeah, it's just the state of lack will always be there. Your need and want to try and be something, if you're like me, will always be there. And if you have any level of self awareness, you can see how far away you are. But true self awareness would be able to check in with how close you actually are as well, and how far you've come and how well you're doing. Yeah, I'm just a bit blown away, basically, today, um, with how the fears that have controlled me for probably a long time, like the things that I'm chasing and the goals that I want and the things I'm after, they affect me quite a lot, like mentally and emotionally. Let me just make sure this is all lined up a minute. Cool. Yeah, they affect me. They've affected me for a long time, and I've had the realization today that like it's all alright. Like it's all alright, and it will be fine. I think when you say it will all be fine, and people go, well, how can you be confident that things are going to work out and things are going to be okay? You can obviously draw on proof that things have been okay in the past, but I think this is the time where you trust in your ability to just get things done. Like trust in your ability to go above and beyond and do the things you say you're going to do, and when you're going to do them, when you want to do them. It's a goal. It's a path that I've always taken, and a thing that I've always done, which is like, this is where I'm going. This is where I want to go. I spend a lot of time thinking about the future, and hopefully to some degree that means that I can achieve the things I want. And potentially, like, maybe me thinking about the future all the time. I know I'm rambling on, but this is basically an insight into my brain. Maybe me sitting in the future a lot and like planning forward and thinking about the things I'm going to achieve and want to achieve and working towards that is just a little bit of maybe me thinking about the future and planning for the future and always striving to achieve something and be better relieves some anxiety of the inadequacy that I feel in the current moment. So in the present, when I feel a lack and I feel like I'm not doing what I should do and I feel like I'm not achieving the things I should achieve, that maybe me sitting in the future and the things I'm doing means that the uncomfortable feeling of the present doesn't affect me as much. And maybe I need to spend a bit more time being able to sit with what I'm feeling and the inadequacies rather than running from it. Food for thought, I suppose. Maybe that's the thing that I need to do. I don't know. It's just interesting, right? It's just interesting. But yeah, it's been an interesting day. We're going to talk quickly or a little bit about login. We're going to go into a new section now. So give it a minute. Put some music on. Give it a second, gang. I suppose let me just just to round out that little mini segment about some kind of goals and the inadequacy and things going to happen when they will happen and trusting in the process. Trust in your ability to be the type of person that will continue to work hard to achieve the goal that they're going to achieve, and allow yourself the grace to enjoy the process along the way, and enjoy the friction that comes with having something that you're chasing, and the friction that comes with like trying to manage life around that. Like I suppose the thing that I've always struggled with, and I don't know what this means or why, but I think the thing that I've always struggled with is the fact that like I want to achieve this goal, and I know the work that needs to go into it, and I know the sacrifice that needs to be made, and that anything that gets in the way of me achieving that I can sometimes feel is a bit of an inconvenience. I can sometimes feel it's a bit of it's taking me and tearing me away from what I'm actually trying to achieve, and therefore it's not valuable, and therefore it's not something that I want. But I think within that, you could end up losing much of the value of life, which is lived in the present and lived in the moment. And I think that's the balance that I'm trying to have. That's the balance that I'm trying to figure out is how can I still be okay in the moment and enjoy the moment and fully be present when I'm thinking about the things I'm trying to achieve. It's a problem I've always had. I've always had this problem, and maybe it's something that I eventually will like overcome. Like because I think obviously you do overcome these things eventually, right? Even though sometimes it feels like it may not ever come true. I just think finding a way to sit in the present and enjoy it and trust in your ability that you will do what it takes to get the things done that need to be done, and go through periods of time where you do have to put all of your focus into something, and that's okay. And then have periods of time like this past week for me has been a bit of a break from work. It's been a bit of a, I know I'm sat here at, what was it, 9 o'clock on a Sunday. Um, but this week has been a bit of a time where I've just had a break, and it's been all right. It's been fine. It's been lovely. It's been more than fine. It's been amazing, and I'm enjoying it. And I think that's the thing, is just like it's all right if you're someone like me striving for a goal. It's okay to have a break every now and again, and to enjoy those moments, and just get the things done you need to get done when you can. Like everything will happen if you're chasing after it and if you put focus into it. So we'll go into another mini segment. So, right. Wait there. Need to take my magnesium. Um, 2 secs. Gang. Oh, bloody hell. If anyone watches the VODs back, just comment for me. Just like a thumbs up or something. Just like if you got to this point, well done. I don't know what I've been talking about. Oof. Right. So, I want to talk about the importance of logging your weights when you're training and when you're going into the gym. So, if I think of progress, if you're someone who wants to make progress in training, you want to gain some strength or gain some muscle, one of the most important things you're going to want to try and do is to log the weights that you're lifting, the sets you're doing, and the reps that you're doing. The reason is because it simplifies the process of making progress. And it does that by allowing you to look at previous weeks and look at the same exercise and see what you did last week, and then be able to make adjustments and changes. So then when you go forward, you can increase the load or increase the reps. And the logging of your weights, logging of weights for me is super important for progress, because it just means that I can incrementally, week to week, step up what I'm trying to do, step up the number of reps, step up the weight that I'm using. And this is part of the reason why I love a rep range. So when I go into the gym and I'm going onto the belt squats and I'm going to do 2 sets, I'm going to do a set of 6 to 8, and then I'm going to do a set of 12 to 15, for example. That rep range allows me some room to try and gain strength in multiple ways, or at least to gain progress in multiple ways. You gain progress in multiple ways through going, right, last week I did a set of 8 reps at 120 kilos. This week I'm going to do a set of 8 reps at 125 kilos. And then if you keep going weeks to week, there might be a point where it's like, right, I'm now at 160 kilos, but I cannot add any more. I cannot keep hitting 8 reps. I'm going to hit 7 reps. But that's still progress because the weight's still going up. So from a week to week perspective and trying to increase strength and increase muscle. It comes simply down to trying to get stronger. So like if you're trying to gain muscle, getting stronger is going to be your biggest indicator that you are gaining muscle. And if you're trying to get stronger, putting weight on the bar is going to be the prime indicator that you're getting stronger. The problem is you won't be able to just add weight and weight and weight for multiple reasons. If you're thinking of barbell back squats, for example, trying to increase weight week on week on week, it will just get to a point where you're just too fatigued. So we need to deload you, so drop weight, drop some volume, and then we can start to build back up again, because that the deload, the weights themselves are going to be the thing which is stopping you from progressing. But logging your weights will allow you to look back at previous weeks and then to try and make progress week to week. The one thing I would be very conscious of is the weight jumps that you make. So we talk about micro loading when it comes to increasing load on the bar or increasing load on your machine that you're using. And micro loading would be anywhere from like a kilo on each, like a kilo in total, so half a kilo on each side of the bar, all the way up to like 2.5 kilos. So that is what we would call a micro loading. And the reason I like that is because if you think you add a kilo every week, over a year, that's 50 kilos. And if I said to you, you could put 50 kilos on your bench press, you would take that every single day. So micro loading is going to be really, really important. And not doing too big of a jumps. Sometimes I will give a percentage rather than a weight. So I will say increase the load by anywhere from 1 to 5% each week. And the reason I say that is because that gives you a really good little gap to sit within, which means that some weeks you can come in and increase by a big amount, some weeks you come in and you increase by a small amount. And I think having a good idea on different machines as to how you increase in the way you do it is going to be great. So like when I think of like lower body movements, I could probably increase a lot more than I can on my upper body movements. So if I'm going to go on a belt squat, I may be able to increase the load by 5 kilos each week or even 10 kilos each week. If I'm going onto a leg extension, it might be 5 kilos each week. If I'm maybe 7.5. But if I'm doing an upper body session, maybe my like chest press machine that I'm doing, maybe that is only 2.5 to 5 kilos increase each week. And then I would go down to say a tricep movement. Well, that's going to be less again because it's a smaller muscle. It's an isolated muscle. It's not going to be able to increase load the same as the others. And being able to log your weights and then make these micro jumps forward is going to be a big thing in helping you to gain muscle and to gain strength. It's such a small little thing, but just week to week, what did I do last week? How many sets? How many reps? What weight did I lift? Could I now increase the weight by a micro load of half a kilo each side, so 1 kilo to 2.5 kilos? And then can I steal an extra rep? Can I do one more rep within that? And that is progress, and you just keep doing that forever and ever and ever, and that's basically how you gain muscle and get bigger and stronger. And just be careful not to make too big of a weight jump. Talking of weight, we are going to go on to a mini section here. Now, my brain, your boy's tired. Obviously, it's 9 o'clock now, but it's actually 10 past 10 because the clock's went back. Let me just double check. Cool. Sorry, gang. Right. I wonder if I do it this way, what happens? I've never done it this way. So we're going to actually present through Canva because I don't know what this means. We're going to present, see what happens. Present full screen. Ah, I just zoomed in. Ta-da! So, the importance of weighing when you're trying to maintain. Why do we want to keep weighing, stepping on the scales when we're trying to maintain our weight? We've gone through a fat loss stage and we've hit the weight goal that we're trying to hit, or we've hit the body composition that we're after. Now, going forward, we want to try and maintain the look. So we've worked really hard. Say we've worked for 12 to 24 weeks to try and lose the weight we've lost. Maybe some of you have kind of done this for years or for a long, long period of time. What do we do? Why are we going to still ask you in this period of time to keep weighing yourself? So we'll go through it. basically, a lot of people struggle with staying the same weight. I just want to maintain my current weight. I like the way I look. People say that to me all the time. I get a lot of clients who, every time they get to their weight goal, this is one of the statements I hear often. So, one common problem that I see is people are either on the diet or they're either off the diet. When dieting, people have a certain way of eating and they have things that they do daily. So, every week and every day, they do things to help them achieve their goal, to lose the weight that they want to achieve. So again, people are either on the diet or off the diet. And when they're on the diet, all that means is they have a certain way of eating. As soon as the diet is done, they change their behaviors, they change their conditions, and that helped them to lose weight. So if I was previously walking 10,000 steps and I was eating 1,500 calories to lose weight, I would change those conditions because I'm no longer trying to do that. So I may stop walking as much, and I may start eating a bit more. And they wonder why they started to regain weight. Now, a lot of it is because not only just the kind of thermodynamics of how weight loss occurs in the fact of eat less, move more, it also comes down to behaviors and habits. So they regain the weight because they return to behaviors and habits and conditions that caused them to gain weight in the first place. So all they are doing is just returning to what they previously had done, and what they previously had done had caused them to gain the weight that they caused, to gain the weight that they gained. So the habits and behaviors that helped us to lose weight will also help us to maintain. So when you are coming into a maintenance phase, you've just lost the weight you wanted to lose, rather than thinking you're now coming off of the diet, you're now just adjusting your current diet. So when you learn to lose weight, one of the things you're learning to do is you're learning the habit of losing weight. You're learning what your lifestyle was before that caused you to gain the weight. And now you're learning what your lifestyle needs to be in order for you to lose the weight. And now we need to find, what is the lifestyle I need to leave? What are the habits I need to have to help me to maintain? When people gain weight, and they can't lose weight, this is why. They have zero focus, zero rules, zero restriction, and a zero plan. They just come completely off. Everything they were doing, they throw out the window. When people lose weight, this is why. 100% of the focus, a lot of rules, a lot of restriction, a short-term and a long-term plan. So they are lasered in on what they're trying to do. They have rules around what they're doing from a food and training perspective, and they have restriction. And they have a short-term and a long-term plan of what they're going to do each day and each week. When people maintain weight, this is why. 70% of their focus is still on the goal of maintaining weight. Anyone that I know who is in decent shape or has maintained a good shape over years basically has still got focus around their nutrition, like a massive focus. And they still got a massive focus on movement. They still got a massive focus on all of it. They have some rules around what they do, and they have some restriction. They still have a short-term and long-term plan. So for me, for example, like, if I think about me in this current maintenance phase, what are some of the rules that I have? Well, some of the rules that I have is I'm going to have protein in every meal. That's going to be a big thing for me. The focus on my nutrition means that I'm going to still meal prep. I'm going to still buy the foods and order the foods that I want to eat. So I'm eating whole, healthy foods. And I'm going to have a short-term and long-term plan. What am I going to eat each week? What am I going to eat each day? How long is this going to go on for? But Charlie, what does it mean to maintain weight? I'm glad you asked. What it means to maintain weight is we stay the same weight on average, okay? So it means that we stay the same weight on average throughout the week. If I weigh myself every morning, when we take our weight, we're going to take it in the morning and we're going to take it first thing, but we're also going to measure it over the week. And what we're going to do is, rather than taking our day-to-day fluctuations, because you can fluctuate 1 to 2% of your body weight, what we're actually going to do is we're going to take the average from the week. So when someone eats a maintenance calories, they are basically eating the same amount of calories that their body is burning. So for them to stay the same weight on average throughout the week, they're basically eating the same calories that they are burning on the day-to-day. So no weight is gained. But we need to keep an eye on one thing we are trying to maintain. And this is why we must continue to weigh. If we didn't look at our bank accounts for a year and spent money based off feel, we would all end up with different amounts of money at the end of the year. Some of us would be skint, some of us would have a lot of money, some of us would be around the same that we started, right? But the way we manage our money is to look at what we have and to budget the rest. So what do I have? Where does a big part of my money go? Goes out on bills. What do I do with the rest? How do I spend it? But we can't budget without knowing where we are. The only way I have managed to stay the same weight, or to help clients stay the same weight, is to get them to continuously weigh. This way, pun intended, we can keep an eye on the things that make changes. We can keep an eye on the things that make changes a lot quicker. Imagine three different people. One checks their bank account every morning and night. The second person checks their bank account every month, and the third person checks their bank account every year. Who would be able to quickly adjust their spending? So out of those three, someone who checks their bank account every morning and night, someone who checks their bank account every month, and someone who checks their bank account every year, who would be able to adjust their spending quickest? Well, it's going to be this geezer, the first one, the guy who checks it the most. Okay. The same thing applies to weight. Imagine three different people. One checks their body weight every morning, one checks their body weight every month, and one checks their body weight every year. Who would be able to adjust their diet quickly? Who would be able to make the changes quicker? Same motherfucker. The same geezer who's really good with his money is going to be really good with his calories. Reason is because he's checking it all the time. And what is that? It's focus. It's keeping an eye on things. It's not being head in the sand. It's being aware of what's going on. So what do I recommend? How do we do it? What's the plan? When you're losing weight, you are trying to do these things basically. So when you're losing weight, you're probably doing these things. You're probably tracking your food and having a daily calorie target. You're eating healthy. You are saying no to meals out and drinks with friends. You're weighing yourself. You're taking progress photos. You're training hard. You're hitting a daily steps target. You're weighing yourself daily. You are strict, restricting food and not being as social. Periods of time being strict on your diet are needed to lose weight. You have to be strict. But this comes at the expense of your life and the things that you enjoy. I understand that. I'm with you, gang. I agree. Sometimes dieting can be really boring. So you want to be able to enjoy those things more when you're not on a diet. Okay? So I've just dieted and I've lost weight and I've got down to the weight I want to get to. We want to enjoy it. But the problem is, the conditions that cause you to gain weight in the past will cause you to gain weight now. So you can't go back to what you've previously done. We need to have new conditions, some level of restriction, but some freedom to enjoy the things that we have sacrificed in order to lose the weight. So we just need to find a new normal and a new balance. This is why I recommend a weight range. So if you finish your diet 65 kilos and want to maintain that weight, I recommend that you now know, so because you know, if you finish your diet at 65 kilos and you want to maintain that weight, know that your body weight fluctuates, that 1 to 2% that I said earlier. That's why we weigh daily, but take the weekly averages. So that body weight is going to fluctuate 1 to 2%, which means your actual maintainable weight is around 64.35 kilos and 65.65 kilos, okay? So based on 1%, that fluctuation, even though on average I'm 65 kilos when I finish my diet, I'm actually somewhere between this. So I have this little range. So it's not necessarily I am 65 kilos. I am somewhere between 64.35 and 65.65 based on 1%. If we base it off 2%, it's a bit of a bigger range. It's 63.7 kilos all the way up to 66.3. So there's this fluctuation that we have, and that's what we think about as our maintenance. This is our maintainable weight. So when we look at weighing daily, but we base it off of our weekly averages, okay? So we weigh daily, but we base it off of our weekly averages. It means that this could be what our week looks like. Monday, 65 kilos. Tuesday, 66 kilos. Wednesday, 65. Thursday, 65.5. Friday, 63.5. Saturday, 64. Sunday, 65. There's this big fluctuations going on, which means our weekly average is around 64.85 kilos. So this is within that 1 to 2% fluctuations of what I would recommend you do once you've lost the weight. Is you set yourself a maintenance range. So set yourself a range that you are happy within. For me, it is 2% fluctuations, which look like, so 2% fluctuations either way of the weight that you finish your diet in. If I finish at 65 kilos, I'm going to allow myself 2% fluctuations either way to say that I'm happy and that I'm maintaining. So 65 kilos is our goal maintenance weight, but our body weight range would be somewhere from 63.7 kilos all the way up to 66.3. This way, if our daily average body weight across the week enters 66.4 kilos plus, I would start to adjust my diet. This is why we weigh. We have a good idea of what's going on. We keep an eye on it. The way you adjust your diet is to start implementing the habits and conditions and behaviors that help you to lose weight in the past. So if you've done something that worked, you just repeat what you did that worked. When you're losing weight, you are tracking your food and having daily calorie targets. You are eating healthy. You are saying no to meals out and drinks with friends. You're weighing yourself. You're taking progress photos. You're training hard. You're hitting daily steps targets. You're weighing yourself daily. You're restricting food and not being a social. But this time, you only have to do it for a few weeks to drop back to your target body weight range. And that's the fluctuation. That's how we keep an eye on it. That's how we make changes quickly. We just make adjustments, small micro adjustments, by being aware and keeping an eye on things. This is why we weigh. Why though? This is why a diet is not something you do to lose weight. It is a lifestyle change that implements the habits and behaviors of someone who can maintain their weight and look. Awareness is the key. Don't bury your head in the sand. The importance of weighing when you're trying to maintain. Ta-da! My name's Charlie. This is What I Had in Mind. We'll see you on the next one. If you're watching on the stream, we're not going anywhere. We're not finished. But yeah, remember, like, you're doing well. Just know that those are the reasons why we maintain our weight. Long story short, you just have these fluctuations that occur all the time. And if you have a weight range, you can have a target that you stick within. You take your weekly averages, you maintain that, and then you make adjustments by returning to the things that you've done that helped you to lose weight. It's as simple as that. Like, just return to the habits and behaviors that are helping you to do the things you're trying to do. Sick. That works really well, actually, running it through Canva. I'm pretty happy with that. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, so, like, yeah, sick. We got, like, a little bit on the mental health section. Not going to be crazy, but it's just going to be, again, the first bit is one thing that helped my training, one thing that kind of hasn't helped my training or made it worse, kind of linked to the other one. And this one is going to be basically around mental health. One thing that's helped my mental health, one thing that hasn't. I'm going to put my glasses on for this because your boy's eyes are quite killing. So, structure and routine. Structure and routine are one of the, if I think about mental health, how can we start this next section? There are two states that we are in always, which is we are either in a state of chaos or there are multiple ways that you can approach life. You can have a lot of freedom, which can create chaos, and then you can have a lot of structure, which can create calmness. The reason structure and routine create calmness is because you understand what's going to happen. There is a predictability within structure and routine, which means that you can, to some degree, shut off the anxiety and the fear of what's going to happen. If I have a structure and routine, I know that I do these things on these days in this way, and it means that there's no things that can come out of the blue. If you think I'm walking through a forest and I can't see anything around me, I'm walking a brand new path. At any point that I'm walking through that path in a forest, a bear can jump out and grab me. But if I walk the same route that I've always walked and I've never had a bear jump out on me, and I do the same steps in the same way and take the same journey at the same time, that structure and routine basically creates some predictability that I can do it and it's safe, right? But the same thing comes for life in general, is you need to have some level of structure and routine to allow you to calm your brain. So if you're someone who struggles with anxiety, or you struggle with low mood and you feel like you kind of get in your head, or you're dealing with depression, you want to find a way out of it, or you want to find a way to help manage it, structure and routine has been really good for me for that reason, is because it creates predictability, and it also means that I can get the things done that I need to get done, and I don't feel bad because I'm actually doing the things I said I was going to do. So structure and routine, to me, one of the biggest things help. And what I mean by structure and routine is, what are the days that I do certain things? What are the days that I do my meal prep? What are the days that I train? What are the days that I do certain pieces of work? What are the days that I work? What are the days that I see friends? Like, that ability to have some structure in my life just allows me, like, my dad does it every week. This is such a tiny little thing, which is like Magnum Mondays. Every Monday he has a Magnum, right? And that is just a little routine and structure that he's created, but it gives him something to look forward to, right? The thing is routine is great, but the one thing that's made it worse for me, and the one thing that I've had to adjust this week to some degree, is that I normally have this structure and routine and everything's kind of positioned out, is that I know what's coming and when it's coming and what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, right? I have this structure and routine. Like, I'm going to put a note down to see if we can watch some like Alan Watts type stuff on this. So I'll find a little clip in a minute if we can. We'll watch something together. But having a completely rigid, planned out life and structured life means that there is no room for spontaneity and for new things to happen and new things to occur. And that because you're so rigid and because you're so structured, it means that the enjoyment of the moment gets lost because you're too busy thinking that you're not within your structure and routine. That is something I'm trying to 100% let go of, is that focus on needing for it to be structured. Let me see if I can find a little Alan Watts video just to run us out. Alan Watts, for those who don't know, is he's a really good. I guess he is a philosopher. The essence of spontaneity. Why your life matters. Deep structure of spontaneous actions. Try this one. This one's got 2.7k views. The Dream of Life. I don't know what this is. Let's go through this one because this will be quite a nice one.
If you awaken from this illusion and you understand that black implies white, self implies other, life implies death, or shall I say, death implies life, you can feel yourself not as a stranger in the world, not as something here on probation, not as something that has arrived here by fluke, but you can begin to feel your own existence as absolutely fundamental. I'm not trying to sell you on this idea in the sense of converting you to it. I want you to play with it. I want you to think of its possibilities. I'm not trying to prove it. I'm just putting it forward as a possibility of life to think about. So then, let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream. And that you could, for example, have the power within one night to dream 75 years of time, or any length of time you wanted to have. And you would naturally, as you began on this adventure of dreams, you would fulfill all your wishes. You would have every kind of pleasure you could conceive. And after several nights of 75 years of total pleasure each, you would say, well, that was pretty great. But now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which isn't under control. Well, something is going to happen to me that I don't know what it's going to be. And you would dig that and come out of that and say, wow, that was a close shave, wasn't it? And then you would get more and more adventurous, and you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. And finally, you would dream where you are now. You would dream the dream of living the life that you are actually living today. That would be within the infinite multiplicity of choices you would have, of playing that you weren't God. Because the whole nature of the Godhead, according to this idea, is to play that he's not. So in this idea then, everybody is fundamentally the ultimate reality. Not God in a politically kingly sense, but God in the sense of being the self, the deep down basic whatever there is. And you're all that, only you're pretending you're not.
Yeah, there is some kind of pull with Alan Watts videos for someone like me, who's always worrying about the future and always fearing of what might come true and what might not. Like, this is a really good antidote to that. It's a really good antidote to that, because it really does bring me back to the present each and every time. I think having a goal, having structure around your life, having a goal that you're chasing, I suppose this is a really nice roundup for this whole stream, really. Having the ability to be spontaneous and to be in the place that you're in right now and to do the things that you're trying to do, like, it makes life exciting and it makes life. And I think that, or maybe it's a Western world thing, or maybe it's a generational thing, or maybe it's just a self-bred thing that some of us do, where we worry so much that the future is not going to come true that we sacrifice the present for it. I've done it over and over again, and it's hard because we believe and we have been taught delayed gratification will help you to be successful, not to have the marshmallow now, but to wait and then you get a bag of marshmallows later. We know that it comes true, but the hardest bit is knowing, do I continue to sacrifice this present that I'm in right now? And I think it comes down to just understanding what's important to you, like, and checking yourself within that, because you get the choice. You get the choice of what you do. You can choose to be someone who chases work and all you do is work and work and work, where you chase your training goals, or you get really unbalanced and focused on one thing, and that's the choice you've made, and that's not necessarily a bad one. You could become really successful doing that in any kind of domain that you decide to do it within. You could become extremely successful, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think, like, you look at the people you admire, to some degree they are probably, if not almost guaranteed, completely unbalanced, because they have put all of their time and focus into one thing. The thing is there is a level of success that you get to where you get your time back, right? There's a level of success that once you get there, all of the work and all the time that you've invested has happened up front. Think of it like a buy-in in CrossFit. You've all got to do this buy-in to create the life that you want to try and create, right? And it's just, how long do you sacrifice the present for? And what parts of the present are you willing to sacrifice? That's the question. What are you willing to sacrifice? Some people are willing to sacrifice it all to do the one thing. And I don't think that I am. But I need to figure out a way to relinquish the control around me not chasing my goals all of the time. I need to be able to sit outside of that. So let's watch the next one, Control, that's come up. May as well, we're in. I love Alan Watts, so we could do this all night.
You can't control your thoughts. You can't control your feelings. You are your thoughts and your feelings.
So that is quite interesting. The reason I'm saying that's quite interesting, I'm going to let him play, but like, so many people are like, you're not your thoughts. You're not your feelings. You're the person witnessing it. See what my man Alan has to say about that.
Giving away the control, you've got it. You've got the kind of control you wanted. But the principle of unity is not to try to obtain power over the rest of the universe. That will only disturb it and antagonize it and make it seem less one with you than ever. The way to become one with the universe is to trust it as another, as you would another, and say, let's see what you're going to do. That's to say, where you had a loving relationship to the world, but you didn't have to make up your mind what it should do. You let it decide. Now, do you see that's how your bodies work? You don't have to make up your mind what your nerve cells are going to do. You've delegated all that authority. And this is the secret of what we will call organic power as distinct from political power. The great Tao flows everywhere, both to the left and to the right. It loves and nourishes all things, but does not lord it over them. And when merits are accomplished, it lays no claim to them. The more, therefore, you relinquish power, trust others, the more powerful you become. But in such a way that instead of having to lie awake nights controlling everything, you do it beautifully by trusting the job to everyone else. And they carry it on for you. In seeing that you cannot control your mind, you realize there is no controller. What you took to be the thinker of thoughts is just one of the thoughts. What you took to be the feeler of the...
I like that. Let's pulling up Alan Watts. Bring it to me, DJ.
You realize there is no controller. What you took to be the thinker of thoughts is just one of the thoughts.
Oh, it slaps.
What you took to be the feeler of the feelings, which was that chronic muscular strain, was just one of the feelings.
Oof.
What you took to be the experiencer of experience is just part of the experience.
Yeah, this whole thing of like being above it and witnessing your thoughts and witnessing your feelings and witnessing, oh, remember that feeling that we had, the experience that we did, and remembering that is part of the experience, that's part of the feelings that you felt, that's part of, yeah, wow, I love it. I'm actually such a big Alan Watts fan.
So there isn't any thinker of thoughts, feeler of feelings. We get into that bind because we have a grammatical rule that verbs have to have subjects. So we find, if I've got to put it back into words, that we live in an eternal now. You've got all the time in the world because you've got all the time there is, which is now. And you are this universe. And then we get this strange feeling that we have never had, you see, in our lives, except occasionally by accident. Some people get a glimpse that we are no longer this poor little stranger and afraid in a world it never made, but that you are this universe, and you are creating it at every moment. Because you see, it starts now.
I like that last little bit.
You are this universe. Strange feeling that we have never had, you see, in our lives, except occasionally by accident. Some people get a glimpse that we are no longer this poor little stranger and afraid in a world it never made, but that you are this universe, and you are creating it at every moment in a world it never made. Some people get a glimpse that we are no longer this poor little stranger and afraid in a world it never made.
We are no longer the poor stranger and afraid in a world it never made. I think that's the thing, is that like you can go through life feeling that you don't belong. You go through life feeling that the world's against you, or that you're never going to get the things that you want, and that you're constantly after it. And I think it is something that at some point people get. I speak to people all the time. And the age I'm at is like everyone's gone through this, or a lot of people have gone through this. Is just this constant not being content with your current situation, not being happy with where you're at. And I think there just comes to a point where you relinquish the control, as such as Mr. Watts was saying there. It's like relinquish the fact that you have any say over any of it at any point anyway. Like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. There's some beauty within that, but there's also just the fact that you need to allow yourself to just be within the moment, and just allow yourself to enjoy whatever the hell's going on. Yeah, it's been a bit of a strange stream, gang, really, isn't it? I don't know. We'll watch this one back. We'll see what it seems like. But yeah, I think this kind of strange section around structure and rigidity and trying to improve your mental health in a way of having that structure and rigidity, but having enough flexibility to be spontaneous and to allow the world to kind of do what it's going to do, and to enjoy it in the moment, is really, really important. Allowing yourself to be present by not constantly thinking about the future all the time, and not using the future as your way of dealing with the anxieties of the present, like being able to just sit and be. I think this is the thing that I like about music. Music, either in your car, or in the shower, or at a concert, or at a rave, is you just lose yourself in it, and it's all you're focused on. And for a moment, the escapism from the stresses of the world are gone, and you're just present in the moment and enjoying the things you're trying to enjoy. There's nothing better. There is no better feeling. And I think that's why people chase it all the time. Goals for this week is to allow myself the grace of working really, really hard when it's time to work, and to being able to rest when it's not. I struggle with resting and recovery and chilling and being. But I've had a good week of doing that. And now it's trying to find some balance between the two. I still think the periodization of my life still being focused on work right now is probably the main thing. Like, I know it is. I know it is. My work and my training. But I can enjoy all the other moments along the way. I can be present on this and then be present within the other bits. That's the goal, I think, as I go forward. Enjoy the times with people outside of chasing your goals, and work really hard when it is time to chase your goals. Make the moments and the minutes and the seconds and the effort and the time count. And then enjoy the moments when you're outside of it and you're doing other things with people and you're doing the connection side of it. Chase your goals. Relinquish control. Enjoy the connection and be present. My name's Charlie. This is How the Body That Mind. Thanks for watching, guys. If you tuned into the stream, if you're watching on the VOD, same thing. Just give me a comment, just so I know you've made it. You're part of the gang. Yeah. Have a good